imagine that your customers reach out because they can't pay for your application anymore. So you have some kind of production incident. What you're doing is you log into your prod account with your read-only access permission set and check out what's going on. You see that you have over 300 messages in your payments dead letter queue. You figure out the issue on dev, you deploy it via CI/CD, everything works. Nice. But now you want to redrive these messages. So what you're doing is you go into that letter queue and start the dead letter queue redrive. The issue is you only have read-only access. You can't write anything, so you can't do anything. And this is a common issue across all production accounts. And this is where the team application comes in. So what you can do here now with the team application is you get temporary elevated access. That means in our AWS Access portal, we have a new application called Team. Once we open this application, we sign in with our user of the Identity Center. We can create a new team request for our target account. And in that case, it is simply our LinkedIn carousel generator prod. We say we want admin access for 1 hour. We don't need a ticket number and say redriving SQS messages. We submit that and this goes back to admins. In that case, I'm also the admin, so let's check that out. And you can see in Slack, we got a new message that my Alex test user wants to request an account for 1 hour. So I open this up in my team application, logged in as an administrator. I can click on approve requests. I can see that my test user here, Alex test user, wants to have 1 hour duration with the justification redriving SQS messages. So I click on approve, say granted, confirm it. Now I head back to my test user's team account. I can see that it's already approved. So I go back to my accounts, just reload once, and now I can see that I have actually administrator access on this production account. So I log in with this account, then I go back to SQS, select my dead letter queue, start my dead letter queue redrive, and that's it. Redrive task has been successfully started. That's how easy it is to get temporary elevated admin access. I can also go back to the admin, look at the active access and say, okay, this is already done. So what I can do is I revoke it. This would also be done automatically after 1 hour, but I think that's quite nice for demo purposes. Head back to my test user, reload here once, and now I can see again, I only have read-only access. And all of that is with the team application, which AWS gives you open source. And in this video, I want to show you how you can set this up for your AWS organization, how you can get it working, how you can get Slack notifications working, and much more. So let's head into that. So what I really like is the architecture here. The architecture is fully serverless, so you won't pay for any costs if you don't use it. And the main part is the main entry point is SAML integration into your identity center. Then you log in. You have AWS AppSync as an API layer, so they use GraphQL. They have many Lambda resolvers, and then you have DynamoDB for requests, approvers, sessions, and so on and so forth. In the backend, everything is handled via a team orchestration layer, it's called here. So we have different step functions for approving, rejecting, scheduling, the revoke, and so on. So the next step is deploying this in our own AWS account. And for that, I first of all want to go through the prerequisites. So I definitely recommend checking out the documentation, but we'll do this together now. We have an AWS organization. So this only works if you don't have a single account, but an AWS organization. Second part is we need permission sets. So we do have permission sets in IAM Identity Center. Then we need a dedicated team account. So let's head over AWS Organizations and I show you how my organization looks like. My organization looks like that. We have our root and then we have different organizational units. In that case, I have a development unit, I have a production unit. In development and in production, we have different accounts. Here, for example, for my wedding website and here for a LinkedIn carousel generator. These are the two accounts where I want that my developers can access permissions to. A very important account is the team account. So you do want to deploy the team solution into its dedicated account and not in the management account. That's explicitly stated in the documentation as well. So I've created a new team account and put this under root. The next part is that we want CloudTrail Lake Organization Event Data Store, and we want this within our team account. So CloudTrail is the AWS service for getting all API logs which are happening within AWS into one data store. And we want this CloudTrail Lake in our team account. So I'm logged in the team account now. I check out CloudTrail, and in CloudTrail I go on Event Data Store, and you can see that I have the Team Lake store already. What you need to do is you need to create an Event Data Store, give it a name, have the default options here so you don't need a longer retention period, and then you simply need to create this one. The next prerequisites the doc here is talking about is first of all AWS Secret Manager. It depends a bit on where your repository lives. I would suggest doing it in code commit since the integration is much nicer. So we don't need this step here at the moment. But what we need is we need team groups. And with team groups, they mean AWS Identity Center groups in your management account. And we need two groups. We need the team admins and the team auditors. So let's head over to the management account and look at our groups. So I'm in my management account now in Identity Center. And as you can see, I have two groups, team admins and team auditors. I also have the groups administrator, all accounts and developers. And these three accounts are really important here. So if I look into team admins, I have myself in there. Same thing for team auditors. I'm also in here. And in developers, I have the test account you saw earlier, Alex, which is my Alex test user. So please set them up. Just create a new group here, add your developers in here, and then continue to the next steps. So we go to the next part, deployment, and then we start deploying it. First of all, we need to clone the open source GitHub repository. So go into your terminal, simply copy paste it and clone it. I opened up this repository here in VS Code so we can have a look at it. The main folder that is interesting for deployment is the folder deployment. So we have many things to do manually here. I know that the setup is maybe a bit manual, so feel free to adapt it to CDK or CloudFormation, but we'll go through it on how to deploy it. So the first part is we need to update the deployment parameters. We create a new file parameters and put it into the deployment directory. There's already a template out there, which we simply copy. I did it already, so we have the parameters template here. This is the one we copy paste and need to update. So I did all of this already in the parameter sh file. So IDC login URL is this URL. Then the region you want to deploy it in or where it's deployed in. For me, that's US East 1. Then what we need is we need the team account. So what is the account number where you deploy your application to? So this is the provisioned team account. And then we have the org master profile and team account profile. And these are actually your local named profiles in the AWS CLI. Then the team admin group and team auditor group, this is what we just set up. You just need to give them the same names. Tags are I'm using the default tags here. These are the tags that will be applied to the CloudFormation resources. Then we need the CloudTrail audit logs. And this is the ARN coming from the event store you just created. So let's head over to CloudTrail and copy that. I am in my event data store. This is the one I've created. Here's the event data store ARN. This is the one I need to copy into the file. And in the end, we just have some cache time to live. We can just keep it the way it is. You can also assign a custom domain. So for example, we could also say portal.awsfundamentals.com. We will probably do this in the future, but now for demo, this is not important. Once we did this, we save the file. The next step is going into the deployment folder and executing the init script. What this is doing, it is assigning the delegated admins for AWS Account Manager, for CloudTrail, and for Identity Center as your team account. So that means you delegate admin permissions to the single team account, that they are allowed to handle these things. So we go into the deployment folder and execute the init shell script. I did it already, so my output will look a little bit different compared to yours. What this is doing, it is configuring all of that in your management account. Since it is open source, please take a look at the code that you're sure you're allowed to do this, and then we can continue. Next step, once this is done, we can run the deployment script. And the deployment script will deploy a CloudFormation stack within your account. So we are still in the deployment folder, and then you say deploy. We head over to CloudFormation and have a look at that. This is the CloudFormation stack team IDC app. We can see create complete, and we can see all different resources that were created there. And the really interesting part here is that we have an Amplify application. That means even once this stack is deployed, we still need to wait until Amplify builds the whole thing. So I have my team IDC app here just with this one branch connected. You can see that the deployments are unfortunately quite slow. So the first deployment takes 20 minutes. So even if CloudFormation is done here, you need to definitely check out these deployments. The deployments again are deploying some CloudFormation resources. You can check them out here. So we have buckets, we have many functions, we have AppSync and so on and so forth. But in the end, this is the whole application. And once it is done, we can continue. So please wait until it is in the state deployed. As a next step, we could do the custom domain registration. I skipped that for now because I didn't do that. I don't need one. And then we go ahead and configure everything. Configuring everything means you want to set up the login that it works for your Identity Center users. So that means going to Identity Center integration, Cognito, and so on and so forth. The next part is integrating your application now with Identity Center because you want to use single sign-on. You want that everybody who logs in with Identity Center is able to log into team. So first of all, go into the deployment folder, execute the integration shell script. You get these two URLs and the audience. We need them in a second because now we go to Identity Center in the management account and create a new application. So all of that is described here very well. So what we're doing is we go to Identity Center into the application. Then we go to customer managed applications. That's very important. Say I have an application I want to set up and we want to execute and create an application with SAML. Then I give it some name. I have all of the data here, some of that I need in a second. And in here, I put in the data I received from my integration script. So for example, I go in, take this URL, copy it in here. Then I need the application ACS URL, which is the second one here. And I need the audience, copy it in here. Again, don't take these values, take the values you've executed from your integration script. Once you did that, you can click on submit. Again, I click on cancel because I did this already in the past. So I do have a team application here. Then following our script here, we need to have some attribute mapping. And it's very important. This is one mistake I did here. Please copy on the $signs as well. So we go into our SAML application, click here and say edit attribute mappings. This is just meant what the subject and what the email is. So you log in with Identity Center and these are the attributes you get. Once this is added, we can continue and assign users or groups to the team application. So you want all developers having access to it. So I assigned all team auditors, all team admins, and in that case, Alex. But what I'm actually doing is I say developers because I have a group of developers and all developers should have access to my team application. So this is the setup, what we did to see the team application in here. So once you clicked save, everybody who you've assigned to should see it here already. But they should not be able to log in yet because we are missing one more thing. And this thing is configuring Cognito. So we have a details JSON file in the deployment directory and we need the metadata URL from the previous section. So we need to go back in to our team application. So this is Identity Center applications and we need our metadata URL. It's a bit complicated. We need to go back to configuration, copy here our SAML metadata file, just copy that. I go back to my repository and we already have a details template here. So you simply copy paste this into the details JSON, put here your portal SSO, so the thing we just copied. And then we have a script to execute, one more script, which is the Cognito shell script. Again, deployment folder, Cognito shell script. Cognito, I already executed it, but you will see some more or less of the same values. Here you see it couldn't, like it already exists for my tenant, so I couldn't do it again, but then it is doing some things. If this is your output, it looks good, and then you should be able to log in. So this is the step where you can test logging in, clicking on team. If you wait a second, it should sign in automatically. You shouldn't be needed to click this button because the sign in should happen automatically. You can't do anything yet because we need to set up the eligibility policies. And this is interesting now. So in administration, you can only do this obviously as a team admin. We can have an approver policy. So who is allowed to approve something? I said that for my production organizational unit, all team admins are allowed to do that. But you can be very creative here. You don't even need to use exactly these groups. You can add other groups as well. I can also select accounts where I say, okay, for my logging account, I only want that team auditors or developers can approve that as well. So what I would always say is go do it on organizational unit level. So I want to have the organizational unit production here and assign all team admins to the approvers. The next part is to set up eligibility policies. That means who is able to request these account permissions. You can use this on user or group level. And I have a specific group for that. And that is the group developers. So I want that all developers are able to request permissions for all accounts in an organizational unit. So this is either a single account or the organizational unit production. I say they are allowed to request the administrator access team permission set. This is something I have set up before in the management account. So set up an example permission set and then select it here. There is a maximum duration, so they're allowed to have it for 3 hours, and there is an approval required. This is important. We can also not require an approval, which still makes sense in my perspective, because then developers will get them automatically. So it defeats the purpose of having this tool as a, let's say, security mechanism. But you still have an audit who took which permissions at what time. But I do want approval, so I add this eligibility policy. Now every developer in this group can request the administrator access team in production for 3 hours, and they need an approval. The only part missing here now are notifications, because at this moment no notifications are set up. You can have different kinds of notifications. Email notifications with SES, Slack notifications as I have them, or custom notifications via SNS. That means you can handle the notifications yourself. As you saw at the beginning in the demo, we have Slack notifications activated, so I quickly show you how you can do that. For Slack notifications, you go to api.slack.com/apps. You see I already have my team application. We have different data here. The main part is really OAuth and permissions. You need to give the bot certain permissions. In that case, chat write, I am write, users read, and users read email. So the bot can send the messages via direct message or via channel message into the channel and into the auditor channel. And then you need to install the app into your Slack workspace, copy the OAuth token, and then go back to the team app. In the team app, you go to settings, click on edit, and then you can enable Slack notifications here. Just insert the Slack OAuth token you've just received from the Slack page and define the Slack audit channel. So you can optionally give also an audit channel that everybody sees what is going on in this AWS account at the moment, and that's it. By default, the team application checks if the email of the requester or the email of the admin is actually available in Slack and then auto DMs it. You can also just use the audit channel if you don't have the same email addresses, for example, in the company and in the AWS account. And that's about it. So we made all prerequisites. We deployed the application via CloudFormation, via Amplify. We connected it via a SAML integration with Identity Center and Cognito, so everybody is able to log in and now request their permission sets. I showed it to you at the demo at the beginning, so of course I played around a bit in the audit tab in the approvals. You can already see that there are a few things happening already. You can also export it and download it if you're interested. You also see the different sessions that were happening. I also revoked a few, and all of that is also available in CloudTrail. I think this is a really cool approach of setting up your AWS organization without any third party needed. It is open source. You can deploy it in your own account. That means you own everything, and you can also adapt it. It is a standard tech stack, so feel free to change the front end, feel free to integrate it with Jira, with ServiceNow, with Linear, whatever you use, and automate and audit things. I think this is a really cool solution. And if you get started with it, try it out, deploy it to your account, and let me know what you think. I hope you've learned something. If you want to know more about IAM and AWS Organizations, check out this free cheat sheet. We teach everything about there on one page. You can print it out, hang it up your wall. We give it to you in HD and for free. Just check out the link in the description and have fun with it.